Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to talk about uh, how language affects the way we think. So, here, uh, first of all, we'll talk about what is language. Is it the one which is like based on consonant and vowel, or it is something different? So, first of all, there are two types of way of communication. We can say verbal and non-verbal. Language is the medium through which is deliver or which is pass our words or messages to the others. So here are two ways of communication. We have the verbal and non-verbal. In the verbal communication, you can say you can simply, it's a language actually in which you have some words you will be speaking in all. In non-verbal, you will not say anything. You will not be using like you will not be speaking simply. So what is the difference between in these two cases? So first of all, I would like to just share a video with you all. Just watch this video and okay, this one is the first video I'm going to share with you. So here you have seen that like this man, first of all, he was using non-verbal way of communication. He was just increasing their speed, and then later when he find that okay, now I can't, I have to speak to that person personally. So he just came out and then started telling him that I have tried to be the first. This is my city. I live in this city, so I have the right to be the first. You go to your city and you be first. In that case, we both will be the like will get the first position and we all will be that position. So this is what okay. I'm sharing now the PPT. So first of all, as I said, we are discussing this topic, how language affects the way we think. So I said language based on only consonant and vowels. You can look at the picture. I think it's trying to telling something to on the other side when we talk about language. So there are so many things comes in mind when we are trying to go into deep. So do you think that we always need a language to communicate or to deliver our messages? And second one is, do you think that language is the only way to communicate with others, and how it affects the way we think? So actually, there are two types of ways of communication, as I said before. So um, both actually the ways of communication can be seen by us. So these two questions. After this, I would like to just give you one example of it. when we enter in this world, we all have same habits, we all have same time, and doesn't matter in which from which country we belong. So in that case, the language that you are using, it is non-verbal at the starting. You don't speak a single word but by range of gestures and your facial expressions, you try to deliver your message to your parents or anyone. You start crying and on. So actually, in that case, you don't need a language. You can't speak actually. So that's why you don't need a language. Actually, oh sorry, you need a language, but you can't speak. So in that environment, the person who is taking care of you, okay, just get the message by just looking at you and your expression, your gestures, and on whatever activities you do. With all these, we come to know, okay, now he's having need of this or that. In the same way, when they grow up, will their habits and diet will be same? Will there be like will they behave same like the way they behave at the starting? So you can see, will their thinking remain same or will there be some changes in it? You can see this picture here, how the thinking and habit changes as time passes. There are some students, they all are in punishment. We can see, okay, the teacher maybe ask them to just stay at the back and all. So here you can see few of them just doing focus on the camera, one of them looking somewhere else, and then you can also see the one is shy, the one is having kind of fear, and the last one is looking this student who is just giving proofs and all. So when they grow up, their habits and their thinking also changes. So is it because of language that they are using, or it's something different? Like as I said, the time when we enter in this world, we all have the same habits. I think we all have the same language that we use, which is non-verbal. So I feel like there's a surrounding factor affects the way we think and all, and the way we just deliver our messages and all, and how surroundings affects the way of thinking. Is it language that affects their way of thinking or something different? Actually, the way we speak language somehow it's because of that. Secondly, the culture that we follow, um, that we find near near the surrounding area and all. And this is also like we need to think about like at the starting when the language was same, behavior was same, but as they grow up, the same language, more changes can be seen. How it can be possible? So, and then secondly, when they grow up, their likes and dislikes also changes. There are few people start like good observer and all. You can say few people are little bit shy. They're short tempered. Some of them like happy and like different. We can find similarities and dissimilarities. Yeah. So the question is how they become angry and all these like changes they have in their nature. They become polite, sometimes they become good and bad also when they speak to someone. So is it because of language or the one or like because of the way people speak in front of them and they are just trying to adopt all those things, all those behavior in them. Now, to understand something, what we need to understand first. This is actually, first of all, whenever we try to understand something, we try to go into deep. And when you go into deep, you'll find the basics. Basics. That's why we all try to go into deep. So let's start with the basics. So first of all, when it comes to a language, especially the sorry, not only language, we talk about the way of communication, I would say. So in the when we talk about way of communication, so uh, there was some question I shared at the starting. What is language? So is it the one which is based on consonant and vowels? So first of all, let's talk about only verbal communication and all. So when we talk about verbal communication, so there are two things: consonants and vowel we learn at the starting. I don't know about the other languages, but most of the languages you will find consonants and vowels. So what is the role of these consonants and vowels and how it comes? Are they affecting any like the way of thinking, you can say? So what is consonant and vowel? Do you think that they are affecting the way of thinking and all? It's because of audible friction or stopping breathe in some part of body and coming from like when uh, some part of your mouth and throat like this. So now, do you think that these are? Do you think that these are the only vowels we have? I have no idea. I have learned only these things like in English if we talk about, but when we learn other languages, you'll find that there are some consonants also we do not pronounce. So we just write when we are using. Okay, when we write the word, we use that consonant which is not used, but still we have to write that particular consonant that will be silent, but it has some effect. It leaves some effect on that spelling. You can see that language no, K and O W. Here the K is not pronounced, but if we remove the meaning will change. It will become not. So is it affecting? Is it like why we have these kind of words in which there are some letters we do not pronounce, we just speak, we just write, but we don't pronounce. And actually in different languages there are some different rules we have. When we talk about English, we have seen this word no. In the same way in French, if we talk about, we have like some words starting with vowels. Vowels are same, but actually there are some other consonants also. We apply all those rules that we apply for vowels. So those consonants are silent. So we consider it, we keep it in that category of vowel. We apply all the rules. Secondly, when we talk about gender, so in all the languages, do you think that all the nouns have like gender, like masculine, feminine, and all? So let's take a look. If we talk about French language, so here you can see all the nouns have two genders. It may be masculine, it may be feminine. But if we talk about German language, so here you'll find nouns maybe masculine, maybe feminine, or maybe neuter. But when we talk about English, do we have any gender for any object? Like if we talk about fan. So can you say it's masculine or feminine? So it depends. Now with these examples, you can see here how languages translates thoughts or ideas to one another. And there are some more reasons also, like giving all these or making all these rules. There are some. There is one another reason, like to save the pronunciation of that particular word, we make these kind of rules and all. I found actually through my research and all that these rules made just because of to save the pronunciation of the word. Next one, the time when you deliver your message. So it's also depend on your personality, the way you present yourself in front of people. So it leaves some kind of effect. So there are some people who are introvert, there are some people who are extrovert. So whatever their nature is, but they just start speaking using their own like using their own, like you can say, learning whatever they have learned, whatever they behave, like they start speaking using that way only. Can't expect an introvert person to be more extrovert, or we can't expect an extrovert person to be more introvert and all. So this is the same question again. Language is a way not only to communicate with others but also ourselves. Sometimes when we think, so most of the time we use, obviously we have native language and we start thinking using our native language, we start talking to ourselves. So if in case when we learn a new language, so do you think that people start thinking in the that new language that we are learning? Secondly, whatever thoughts coming in our mind, it is totally based on the experience that we have experienced. Like suppose if a person is living in very calm environment, or we can say ambience, he will be thinking very calmly and he will be dealing the situation very calmly. But the person who is like not calm, he will not be able to deal the situation and he will be thinking, okay, what will be the next? How I will be completing my work? Don't have time. Like these kind of questions will be attacking his mind, if I'm right. So when the time we deliver something, whether it's verbal or non-verbal, so all the thoughts coming out, it is based on only experience that we have experienced in front of listener when we speak. So there is an imaginary like picture you can see creates. Like right now when I'm speaking, so all the listeners are maybe having a kind of picture in front of them, and accordingly they are having different thinking. I'm sure that they are not thinking the same thing. They are going maybe in this way, or maybe they are being focused on only consonant verbal. Maybe they are thinking about the non-verbal ways of communication, or maybe the verbal communication. Maybe they are thinking about, okay, the experience and all what they have experienced, and maybe they are thinking only of like how this language is affecting. Is it really affects the way we think, like this? So there are so many things comes in mind depending on the experience we have. I have few more examples. Like if we talk about professional, like a pilot, an engineer, and anyone. So do you think that you can give an advice to a pilot how to fly a plane if you don't have any experience in that? You don't belong to that field. Do you think that you can you can help any engineer to just find out, like to just troubleshoot the problem and all? You don't have any experience, so do you think that he will be listening to you and he will be taking your advice or your guidance seriously? Secondly, when we deliver our message right now, like the topic that I'm discussing, maybe there are few people thinks that okay, um, if a person is knowledgeable, you can say he's having knowledge of this particular topic, so he will be thinking, okay, what kind of rubbish things I'm talking about. And if I deliver the same thing to these friends, he will, or she will be like thinking about, okay, now I'm going to deep and all to study and to have to do some kind of research. So we all have different perspectives to tell the things and all. That is totally based on experience that they're experiencing, and that is the only thing that affects the way of thinking. The whatever you experience, the thoughts comes from from that only. So this only because of that. See the same thing again. If you are looking for a good school, you'll be asking the one whose child is studying in that particular school instead of the one whose child is studying in a different school. And if that person gives you an advice, you will not take it seriously. as we know that if that school is good, why he or she should allow her student to go there and all. So I would like to share one more video in that case, the same the example of verbal and non-verbal communication. So here you can see at the starting the instruction was given by the teacher and then by the examiner you can see. And then later when you know what happened, like there was no conversation going on, but the person who was sitting there, he knows that okay, he's trying to cheat and all, so he was just trying to hide his paper and all. So we I was trying to hide his paper on because he knows that okay, that person is trying to see the topic that he was writing or the answer that he was writing and all. So it comes from the experience and all. As I said at the starting, let me show you the thing again. See this one. Whatever you think like it comes based on your experience and all. So this is the language is only the way of communication. It's not the like based on totally those things. So whatever you are experiencing, whatever you are just you have experienced, this is the only thing that affects your way of thinking in that case. It's not because of those like what we say, the consonants and vowel doesn't matter. This is the only you can say the language is constructed using these consonants and vowel, but there are some differences when we talk about all these rules in different languages. There are so many rules as you know that I have shared one example where all the nouns have different genders in the languages. Okay. Here, this one. If we talk about that French language, so here you can say that all the nouns have only masculine and feminine. But in the case of German, you will find okay, the noun maybe it is masculine, maybe it is feminine and neuter. But in English, there is no gender for noun. I feel like you can say fan is moving, so we don't know the fan is masculine or feminine, like living and non-living things. There's no gender for that in that case. For living things, so we know, but for non-living things, don't. So on the other side, there are some different rules for the changing of all the nouns into plural. So they have some rules. It may be sometimes similar, like if we compare this one English to this one first one language. And so the first rule is similar, like we just put s at the end to just change a noun into plural, and if there is already s, so it will remain same in plural as well as singular. So it will be like that. So if you have any query, you can ask me. Visit these sites to just know all these things. You can ask me any queries if you have. There are different things that affect the way of thinking, and how language affects the way of thinking. You know that it depends on the so many things, not only one. It depends maybe on the culture, it depends maybe on the environment that you are living in. It may be because of experience that you have experienced. It may be because of the rules of like whatever the grammar rules we have, whatever the rules you have in that particular language. As I said, the Nestle family and all, there are different rules we have in all the languages. So there are so many factors that affects the way of thinking. If you have any queries, you can ask me last 2 3 minutes we have left. Okay, thank you for joining this webinar.